All right, time for an interesting story out of Chicago, Illinois. This is a photo of Kevin Dugar. He's been in prison since 2003 after being convicted of murder. He allegedly fired into a group of people, killing one and injuring another. Well, last week, he was let out on bond and granted a new trial. Why? Because of this guy, Karl Smith, Kevin Dugar's identical twin. He came forward and confessed to the murder that Kevin was previously convicted of. Take a look at them side by side. I don't think any eyewitness is going to be able to tell these two apart. In fact, these two apparently used to impersonate each other when they were kids. Karl Smith is already serving a 99-year sentence for taking part in a home invasion and armed robbery that left a 6-year-old boy dead. So prosecutors are questioning this admission, claiming that Karl's got nothing to lose, so he's going to take the rap for his twin brother. Bottom line is the judge said he's out. Now, this has been going on for years. The first judge came across this said, I don't believe you. Still with us, Michael Sterling, Ann Bremner, and Rick King. And to you on this first, they're identical twins, and it is absolutely plausible. I mean, there's no way you get a conviction right now afterwards if he's been given a new trial. Your take on the judge saying, yeah, new trial, you've served 20 years.
I guess, hope springs eternal in terms of the innocence, claim here. But we look at all these cases and all the kind of evidence you can have in a case, hair, fibers, fingerprints, DNA. I mean, and if you're only looking at identification, that's a pretty weak case to begin with. I mean, it's, those are some of the weaker cases we've heard from experts like Elizabeth Loftus, we've heard most recently as an expert on that kind of an issue in the Maxwell case. But the first judge said no. This one says, let's go ahead. Don't you think part of this is kind of the trend we've seen towards believing exoneree evidence in this country, especially when DNA has cleared people? When I was a prosecutor, we used to say less than 1/10 of 1% of the defendants were guilty. And that's what we said back in the 80s. And we don't think you say that now. So I think it's part of a trend, too, of belief.
Michael Sterling, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny because I think Ann makes a very, very good point, which is that identification can often be weak cases. I tried almost an 18-day case at the end of last year, and the only person who said they could identify my witness, identify my client, identified somebody who was sitting on the prosecution side. So oftentimes, prosecutors use these in-court identifications because you're flanked by defense attorneys and sitting at defense counsel's table, but it didn't work. And then there was no physical evidence connecting my client to the crime. So in the absence of physical evidence, and you're depending on an eyewitness identification, and the court is able to look at the criminal history, all of the facts and circumstances, and someone comes forward and says, it was me, then the court has to consider all of those factors, all of those circumstances, criminal history, everything that could possibly be involved, and then make a reasoned decision on whether or not they believe this confession. And in this case, the judge did believe them and, granted a new trial. And I agree with you, Ted. It's going to be almost impossible to get a conviction with someone else saying that they did it, although we did see that happen in a case previously covered by Court TV.
Yeah, usually people come forward, Rick, and say, it wasn't me. Now we're getting the reversal. It was 2003 where the incident took place, convicted in 2005. It was 2013 that brother came out initially and said, I did it. And that has raised some eyebrows. Why didn't he come out earlier? But bottom line is the judge has looked this case up and down. Your thoughts?
Listen, I have to agree with my my co-host here that this is it's an ID case, and very, very difficult on eyewitness cases. I was listening to Michael talk about his client, and years ago at a federal trial, I was seated next to a client, and the arresting officer picked, when they do the in-court ID, he picked me out and said I was the guy. So when you talk about eyewitness cases, I mean, they're just, and you have identical twins to make it even more complicated. I just think that there's no other evidence, nothing else to suggest that Mr. Dugar was there at the time, or someone can. And I also understand that later on that he actually had an alibi, that he really wasn't even there. He was at home with his mother. So there's going to be a lot more in the second trial. I think if they bring it, it's going to be a very difficult to get a conviction in that.
Yeah, and really, it's heartbreaking because if he didn't do it, it almost makes sense that he's not going to turn his brother in. But at one point, he was offered a deal, apparently, of 11, 12 years, and he said no, probably thinking, I didn't do it. And I kind of think my brother did it, but I'm not going to turn him in. But at the end of it, they're not going to convict me because I've got an alibi. Well, lo and behold, he does get clipped, does 20 years, gets sentenced to 54. This shouldn't be a case that we should, as a society, be snickering and saying, oh, this is nonsense. The twins just bailing him out because he's serving 99. We should be feeling bad for this guy because there's a very good chance he didn't do it.
Right. No, absolutely. And you look at a case like this and you think, especially giving up the plea, in the eyewitness issues that my esteemed panelists, both think tankers, have raised. I haven't been identified yet in a courtroom as a defendant, but I'm sure it'll happen at some point.
And you know what, and Ted, I'll add, when I was a prosecutor, on most of our walls, there was a sign that said, we'd rather 1,000 guilty people go free than one innocent person end up in jail. And that is the reason that we have the presumption of innocence and the proof beyond a reasonable doubt, is that we believe very firmly in our justice system that it is better that a guilty person go free than that one person find themselves locked up for a crime they did not commit.
Yeah, it's on your wall, and it should be in everybody's heart in this country because that's how the system works. Go ahead, Rick.
And normally everyone's voir dire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all right, Michael Sterling, Ann Bremner, Rick King, want to thank all of you for your valuable time this evening. We really appreciate your expertise. We're going to step aside and take a break.